Welcome back to Interview Ninja Step 58. We're going to talk more about Gestalt psychology as a general approach, and then specifically the cycle explained using easy to understand words rather than psychobabble. Then about using Gestalt Cycle to understand your own thought paths and blocks better, and what is going on around you, maybe observing other people and are they blocked, and what you can do possibly to help them unblock, and maybe even at a team level unblock a whole team. There is a close relationship between blockages and anxiety, because high anxiety can often tilt the risk-reward balance. Well, we've certainly covered that in the Get the Job You Want course, if you're interested to explore it further.
Gestalt.
Okay, this is good.
Gestalt. Gestalt means an organized whole that is more than the sum of its parts. Practitioners who use Gestalt believe that they can help clients see this in themselves. It is an experiential type of therapy used as an alternative response to psychodynamic theory, which
Okay, so now this is a good one. It's not very long. It's less than 4 minutes. Okay, about 7 seconds. It's aimed at students who want to learn psychotherapy and become psychoanalysts. So that's its direction. But I've already started seeded earlier for you Gestalt theory and Gestalt concepts of looking around you and seeing the pictures and the here and now and everything like that. All right. And all of our interactions have been me focusing on you and where you are now, in the back of my mind, where you want to be, and how I can draw out from you or help you see within yourself, help you actualize yourself as a person, because I can't actualize you. And I know nothing at all about how you produce music or anything like that. So my mission, if you like, empower you to actualize yourself to achieve your purpose, which you haven't really crystallized out in your mind yet what it is anyway. Okay?
Yeah.
So this is Gestalt therapy, as opposed to the Gestalt cycle, covers this space. All right? So we can run this.
There are different kinds of psychology, many of them based on the ideas of original thinkers like Freud and Jung. I put that in parentheses because I'm not quite sure how original they were. As computers and brain science and scanners and so on have become available, additional theories about what goes on in our minds have been used to explain mental sickness and behavior. They are based on observing the actual electrochemical activity in our minds and blood flows and things like that. Now, there is another approach that's been used to observe people's behavior and construct experiments and tests. Experiential and psychodynamic means it's based on watching people and seeing how they react. In that respect, it is closer to being a practical method.
focus more on past trauma. Gestalt, on the other hand, focuses more on present moment work. It uses to guide clients toward freedom, awareness, and self-direction, created on the premise that individuals must be understood in the context of their ongoing relationship to the environment. Gestalt therapy is also phenomenological, meaning that there's a focus on the client's perceptions of reality, and also existential because it is grounded in the notion that people are always in the process of becoming, remaking, and discovering themselves.
Words like phenomenological and existential are themselves blocks to learning and are gleefully used by some academics, so only they know the secrets of these great and valuable ideas. I believe we should all have access to them, so let's use critical analytical thinking to see what they mean. A phenomenon is something that happens. Logical is about reasoning why it happened. So what the combined word means is Why did a given thing happen? Coming on to existential, it's about existence, which is about reality. So what it really means is what happened. So Gestalt, it's about what happened and why, not phenomenological existentialism.
One of Gestalt therapy's main tenets is that the therapist comes from a place of unconditional acceptance. This is because they believe that forcing someone to change paradoxically results in further distress and fragmentation. Gestalt was the first type of therapy to incorporate having the client do all of their own seeing, feeling, sensing, and interpreting, as opposed to waiting passively for the therapist to provide them with insights and answers. It focuses on using emotion as a route to both cognitive and behavioral change, and encourages clients to stay with their present moment by moment experiencing. They facilitate this process by one, moving the client from environmental support to self support, and two, reintegrating the disowned parts of one's personality. Gestalt therapists place no superiority on a particular value of a person. They instead focus on which aspects of the individual is experiencing in the given moment. These are the aspects of the client's presentation that are often out of his or her awareness. They are usually pointed out by looking at nonverbal cues. Now let's look at phenomenological inquiry. It builds on present moment work with the dialogue between the client and the therapist. They do this by asking more what and how questions, but rarely why. Asking why puts people into the past to search for answers and plays more into their dominant negative thought patterns. Instead, Gestalt therapists ask things like, what is going on now? And what are you experiencing as you talk about that? There's also something called unfinished business. It manifests itself in feelings such as resentment, hatred, pain, anxiety, grief.
Now, the reason we're doing this is I don't want you to finish up in 6, 12, 18 months from now having a sense of unfinished business and frustration that, oh, perhaps I should have gone on that course after all, or I should have done this, I should have done that. Okay, I don't want that to happen to you.
No, neither do I.
No. And so, because if it does, you'll finish up with all these feelings. Right now, they're trained. This is part of the training of psychotherapist, who is going to be seeing all those people who've fallen off the rope. If you think of life as a kind of tightrope walk, from where you are now to where you want to get across the river, sort of thing. So you have to, when you watch this, you need to switch away from stuff that's about negative recovery into going from normal to excellent. Well, preventing to a degree. That what we're on a journey to excellence. It's one of the courses I used to run with Cisco and others is called From Good to Great. All right, and there's stuff on the web and YouTube about taking people from good to great, and businesses like to train their people to be good, from good to great. And what I'm doing with you is helping you go from undoubtedly good, remarkably good, okay, but I want you to be great and fulfill your ambitions. They've got to be your ambitions, not what I think's great. It's got to be what you'll really think, yeah, I'm glad I did that. You look back not with unfinished business, but with satisfaction, going around the Gestalt cycle. Okay, do we just push this to make it go again?
Yeah.
Is there a why going to appear on anxiety? That's bothering me. Yes, okay.
These all create unnecessary emotional debris that trashes present moment awareness. Let's go over some techniques to deal with this. Introjection is the tendency to accept one's beliefs and standards without assimilating them to make them congruent.
Introjection is basically somebody puts something in front of you and you just eat it. You don't even ask what it is. You just swallow it all up and accept it without even thinking about it. That's what. So tendency to accept others' beliefs and standards without even thinking about them.
Projection, on the other hand, is the reverse of introjection. In projection, we disown certain aspects of ourselves by assigning them to the environment. And finally, deflection is the process of distraction or veering off so that it is difficult to maintain a sustained sense of contact.
A most common form of that is what's called displacement behavior. You've got the homework to do. You know it's got to be done by tomorrow morning. You're sitting there with it, but you think maybe I better just clean those drawers out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or do something other.
Yeah.
You know, it's amazing the way the mind displaces right up till the very last minute when it's got to be done, and so then you do it.
Yeah.
And some people get into a pattern of behavior of, rather than doing the homework early and thinking, well, I've done it, you know, now I can relax and get on with stuff. It's like put it off, put it off, put it off, put it off. And a little mental trick you can use is you can remember what it's like when you've actually done something. You know, that satisfaction piece on the cycle.
Yeah.
Okay. You can remember that feeling of satisfaction and the buzz you get. And it's a chemical thing that goes on in your mind. And what you can say to yourself is, I want that buzz now. I want that buzz early. This is how I'm going to feel when I've done this job. So I'm going to do it now because I want to bring that feeling forward. I'm not going to leave getting that feeling till the very last minute when I have to do it.
So think of it rather as a punishment, as a reward. So
yes, it's a reward you can get early,
as opposed to a punishment that you've got to do at some point. Well, not a punishment, but a boring job.
Yeah.
Say it's a piece of homework.
There's a massive number of psychological experiments to do with at what point a person gets the satisfaction. So you can have little children and you can put 3 sweets in front of them and say, I'll give you one, I'll give you one bonus sweet or whatever if you eat them in the next too soon.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, if you can wait, I'll give you 3 bonus sweets.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's about the ability of a child to postpone satisfaction. Now that's what people generally teach you, is it's called postponed gratification, and you're taught to wait. That's what society teaches you, to wait. But if you really got your act together, you can take the gratification now and strategize so you get another gratification.
So you get the 3 and the 3.
Yeah.
The time period for the 3 and the 1. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but because you're a child and you're passive and you accept the rules as they've been set, you then have to learn to postpone gratification. Society tries to teach you to postpone gratification, to wait for the payoff. And the ultimate version of that is take a load of that you'll get your payoff in heaven.
Yes.
That's the ultimate postponed gratification.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is, it's a good scam if you can do it, because you never actually have to pay them. You know, the slave or the person or everything will be all right in the end. It's, you don't pay them.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, they till your fields and they, do this and they do that because they know they'll be all right and they'll get their delayed gratification. The real world we live in isn't like that, and you've got to learn to balance what gratification you take and when you're going to take it. So this is all about self-actualization, is revisiting that. It's not good always to postpone gratification, because in the end it doesn't come. A lot of people just work 9 to 9 or whatever it is, saving up their money
they just don't spend
to be comfortable in their old age.
Yeah. And
then they get sick and they die, and they're left with a lot of money in the bank, which is, and they've never been on a holiday or no. So knowing when to take that gratification. I mean, like now, what you're doing with your plan, you're going to go off around the world for a few months. Yeah, good for you. Whereas some other people would say, well, you ought to start a job straight away and start thinking about your pension. Or whatever it is.
Yeah.
It's all about the way you think.
Yeah.
And that's up to you, the way you think.
There are some people, especially in California, doing education, who have what I think of as verbal diarrhea. They always try and use at least 3 syllables in a word rather than using a simple word. And then next to that, they try and cut things down from 2 syllables or something just to 1, or even just a noise. So if you listen back to the soundtrack of that chap speaking about Gestalt and all the rest of it, he's never uses a short word where he can use a long word, and very occasionally he pops in a single syllable thing. Now, I'm explaining this because I don't want it to get in the way of you understanding these valuable concepts. So if you have the time, go back over what that chap was saying and see if you can turn it into what you might think of as sensible language. What is he really saying when you cut through all that babble? And you will find some good stuff in there, which is why in step 59, we're going to go on talking about this really important Gestalt psychology approach to life, which really comes down to living in the here and now, seeing what's around you, and thinking about why is it happening, and then, okay, I'm understanding what's going on, now what can I do about it? If you do have an interview coming up, that could potentially be relatively high anxiety. So think to yourself, are you blocked somewhere along that path in terms of preparing properly? And then when you go into the meeting, what have you done to help yourself stay calm? During this course, we talk about various methods you can use to provide yourself reassurance. And then after the interview itself, what can you do to reanalyze what went on? Because potentially you can learn an awful lot from an interview, and if it goes badly, you can learn even more.